Welcome to Katie Bird's Nest. I am Kate. This is chapter 10 for The Artist Way. I did this week about 2 months ago, and I reviewed the chapter this week as well. I need to pick up the book and start moving again. I've mentioned this in other videos. My mom died in February, so I fell off the Artist Way wagon. I had done chapter 10 for a week, and I was going to record the video of my review, but the day I was going to record it is the day that I got the phone call that she had passed away, and so I haven't done the video yet, and I'm doing it now, finally. But this is just kind of a recap of 10. I didn't sit down and redo the entire week this week, just because, I don't know, I've already done it. Chapter 10 was about recovering a sense of self-protection, and the week was about identifying toxic patterns that create your artist block. I'll just kind of go through list off some quotes that stood out for me in the chapter that kind of helped me identify some of my toxic patterns. I won't share all of my toxic patterns, but you know, a couple of the big ones that I've been working on, and these change over time. Over the last 2 months, my toxic patterns and behaviors have changed that are blocking me from moving forward in my writing in different directions, and I've worked through them, and she gives a way to work through them, so it's really kind of cool. So the chapter starts off talking about dangers of the trail, and she says, the choice to block is a creative U-turn. We turn back on ourselves, and it marks a little jot on our spiritual blackboard. It's like, did it again, you know, boom, when you do it, like, you know you did it. She tells us how to fix it. You know, our awareness, just being aware of our blocking device. She says, we can feel our U-turns as we make them. The blocks will no longer work effectively. And that's where that, you know, blackboard, you know, ooh, you did it again, you know, like I've been staying up really late and getting up really late, and then when the sun goes down, I really should be doing a second writing session, but I'm not. I'm like, oh, my husband's off work, it's evening, I'm done, you know. So my writing block for a while has been not getting up early enough, and so I'm working on getting up earlier in the morning and getting in an extra writing session. And you know, that's been that toxic behavior, is staying up late. And she talks about workaholism, droughts, fame, and competition as other toxic behaviors that can get in the way. And she advises to continue doing your morning pages all the time and have faith that, you know, clarity will come when you're in droughts. You know, that was specifically talking about droughts. I didn't really do much with workaholism. She was talking about tasks that you get so busy and you just kind of checking things off, and you're so busy that you just can't, you know, it becomes a block for you. And I didn't feel like that was a big thing for me, so I didn't really have much work to do in there. She has a quote, or something that I underlined, was, there's a difference between zestful work towards the cherished goal and workaholism. The difference lies less in the hours than it does in the emotional quality of the hours spent. There's a treadmill quality to workaholism. So if that's your block, that might kind of throw up the red flag for you if that's an issue, that it's a treadmill quality versus an emotional quality to the amount of time you're spending. For that, it's useful to set a bottom line, because it's, what does she say? It's like an addiction, but it's hard to tell when you're indulging in it, because you have to work to a certain extent, but then when do you draw the line when it's too much? Because it's not something that you can just not do. You have to do it to a certain extent, and then you have to draw a line and say, okay, no more. And so she's saying, make the bottom line, like, you know, no work on weekends, boom, if, you know, kind of thing. But you have to tailor it to whatever works for you. So I don't really have any good examples about that pertain to artist stuff. But then she goes on to talk about drought and how during droughts we have lost faith in the great creator and in our creative selves, and in creative lives droughts are necessary. And it's just like when there's just nothing coming through the creative well, and that you just have to keep doing your morning pages and have faith that eventually the spigot will open. And I felt that. I've felt that lately, where I'm sitting there and just nothing is coming. And so I'm putting in the time. That's been the big priority, is putting in the time and not procrastinating and thinking, oh, it's no use to sit there because nothing's going to happen. It's like, I just have to get to the chair and sit there. And something hopefully will happen. Some days nothing happens or very little happens, but there's no opportunity for it to happen if you're not sitting there and ready. So then there's a part about competition, and let's see, I didn't really pay attention to this one very much either, because I don't know, I don't get that competitive edge very much. There's parts I underlined in here. It says, whenever you are angered about someone else beating you out, remember this: the foot race mentality is always the ego's demand to be not just good, but also first and best. Originality in the process of remaining true to ourselves is how you need to look at it. So I guess it's, don't be jealous of people. You are the only one who can write the stories that you can write. And those other people are the only people who can write the stories they write. So if their story is better than your story, they're the only one who can write that story. So it's not like you could have written a better story than them, if you had taken their type of story to write. It just is what it is. And there's always going to be people who are higher and lower than you on the scale of better, if you want to look at writing as being better or not better than other people in comparison. You just need to focus on yourself and work on your craft. Let's see, what else she got in here? I think that's it for kind of the bulk of the chapter. For the questions, for the overview, I did do morning pages. I kind of over the last 2 months, I went back and forth, just kind of because a lot was going on, and I was traveling back home where my family lives, and visiting with relatives and things, and so I didn't do morning pages for a while during those 2 months. Like right at first I didn't do anything for like a week or two, and then I got back into it, and it felt good to get back into it. And then I ran through the notebook I was using, and it was a smaller size, like traveler size notebook. It wasn't a college sized notebook, so I wasn't writing really a full 3 pages front and back and another front, because it was such a smaller notebook. And so I bought a bigger size notebook that's not quite college size, but it's closer, and so I'm writing more of the 3 pages and so it's harder to write more, but it's closer to what you're supposed to be writing, at least what I think she wants you to be writing. So it takes me longer to get through my morning pages now. I guess I just don't have as much to say lately. But I have been trying to sit down and do them every day. But I don't always do them in the morning either. Sometimes I do them in the evening, and I want to try to be more consistent about that, doing them in the morning and doing them, trying to just kind of crank them out quickly. So I have not gone back and read them yet at all since I started the book at all. And there is a point in here where one of the chapter tells you to go back and start reading them, and I don't know, just kind of picking out what you find are interesting things that you've written, and I am like, I don't want to look at it yet. I want, just like, I'm so close to the end, I'll wait till the end of the book, and then I'll go back and start reading them, but I don't feel like I'm ready to start reading my ramblings yet. So with the check-in, I stayed home this week and last week, really. I probably left the house twice, to go grocery shopping and check the mail, stuff. So I really didn't do an artist date. I mean, I guess I kind of played video games for a while and watched TV one night, where I kind of watched a lot of TV one night by myself, but I didn't think of those. Those aren't really artist dates, not planned anyways. So I've been slacking on those. I haven't really been, taking my artist child on a date, really. I need to do one of those next week and earnestly. I have some appointments next week though, so maybe I can piggyback it on one of those when I'm already kind of out in the car. Go on another shopping trip. Synchronicity, I had a flood of ideas while I was out of town on an overnight with my husband. We went out on a little hiking trip, and when I was driving, I just, boom, I had all this new story idea, and it just like exploded while I was driving the car for my like shift of my turn to drive for like 2 hours, and it was really cool, but it's not the story I'm writing right now. So it was kind of, it was, I don't know, I feel like that's synchronicity with kind of getting in touch with the artistic well and having ideas. But it's not the story I'm working on, so it wasn't very helpful. It was exciting to have that surge of excitement and all of the creativity that goes along with the beginning of a new story and the flood of ideas. But there was something else that worked too. I can't remember what it was. I didn't write it down. Anyways, so next week is chapter 11. I'm going to sit down and really plow back into it. I've been out of the groove here the last 2 months, which has really kind of thrown me off of the book. I'm not, there's only 2 more weeks left, and I wish my mom hadn't died, and I wish I hadn't gotten thrown off course of this book, because I was really on a roll, just plowing through every chapter every week. And but my mom actually gave me this book years and years and years ago, and thought you want to be a writer, you should do this book. And I didn't really do it when she gave it to me, and when I was at my parents' house, getting ready for the funeral with my dad and my brother, we were going through the house a little bit, and I saw her copy of this book, and I just, I can't, I've been away 2 months, but I can't not finish it. I have to come back to this, I have to do this, I have 2 more weeks to go, I have to finish this book. It's not like, oh, I have to do it for my mom, but I have to do it for me, and then, it means a little bit more to me that she gave it to me originally, and that I finish it, and I just happened to have been in the middle of it when everything sort of went down. So yeah, chapter 11 is this next week. It's called Recovering a Sense of Autonomy. It's about nurturing and accepting ourselves as artists. So I'm definitely looking forward to that chapter. I am ready to nurture and accept myself as an artist. I could use some tips. So I will see you next week. Thanks.